Hello, hello, hello. Okay, let me try something here. Okay. I'm gonna give it some time for folks to come in. Let me give it some time. Peyton, hello, hello, hello. I got multiple monitors, so sometimes I'll be looking at what you're saying, but the camera's here, but I see you over there. It's so good to see you, Peyton. Thank you. We're gonna have story time here. Now, I just want to confirm. Can you hear me okay? Let me know if you can hear me all right. Okay, let's see what we got here. I'm going to be reading a story. Let's see here. I'm going to close out this window. And also close this and close this and close this and give people some time to come in. Okay, good. I'm glad. Amazing. Oh, I'm so glad. Okay, thank you, Peyton. Thank you. Okay, so I think what I want to do is I want to get into it here. Here's the thing, Peyton, I don't remember if you were on when I shared my great-grandmother's story before. Here's the thing. I am reading her book. It's called The Devil Wore an Orchid. This is the cover art. She's my great-grandmother, and some family, I think like one of her nieces or something, drew this. I'm sorry that I don't remember exactly who made this, but that's my great-grandmother. That's her right there. She named herself Orchid. Her original name was Talia because she's Italian. She was Italian. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to quickly recap what happened, where we are in the story. Okay. The thing is, my grandmother was very open. She was very open-minded. And then at some point in her life, she turned to Christianity because she heard a lot of people talk about it and felt really called to that way of life. I don't think it was through Catholicism. I think it was like Christianity, but I don't know what kind of Christianity. I'm not sure. I knew her when I was a little baby. Like maybe I think she passed away when I was 3. Hello, Sherry. Hello. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being here. Sherry, this is perfect timing because I don't think you were around yet as the Joybird crew has continued to grow. And I started out reading my great-grandmother's story, The Devil Wore an Orchid. Okay, she wasn't always a Christian, but she's from an Italian family that immigrated over here. And so, the sort of in her blood to be curious about it. And so when colleagues of hers were talking to her about the importance for them, the importance of following Christianity, then she got into it, right? And y'all know that, like, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious, I don't subscribe specifically to religion, but if you do, please do you. I respect everyone's choices, right? So here's where we are, because I went on here and I started reading some of her work, some of her memoir, and I want to finish it. I want to finish it today if we can. Okay. It's a compelling story. When I read this first section of it, I realized, wow, she was like funny. She was a great writer. She has a great natural voice. She never wrote like another like book that she wanted published, but she wanted her story out there. So just during this time where I'm in between things, I'm like, hey, I have the time. I want to honor that. Thank you so much for the love. And so that's what we're doing. Now, the first section that I read, this is what we covered so far. Essentially, my great-grandfather, her husband, who is like by blood, my great-grandfather married her, right? He did some illegal stuff to get by. He kind of scammed people left and right. Hello, Wilbur. Hello, happy Friday. Oh, you're out having food and beverage? Please let us know. Please let us know what kind of food and beverage you're getting into, because I'm over here. I'm getting a little hungry. It's dinner time over here, too. I love it. The crew is here. The crew is here. It's beautiful. Yay. Oh my goodness. I love it. God, that sounds so lovely. It's a beautiful Friday night. I hope everyone's having an awesome time. Okay, this is actually perfect because Wilbur, I don't think you were around when I read this. I think this is a new story for all three of you. A little tipsy. Hey, good. You deserve it. You do a lot for your family, for the community, so enjoy it, Wilbur. That is freaking awesome. Okay, well, here's the deal. And please continue chatting amongst yourselves. I'm just gonna let y'all know where we're at. So to catch y'all up, I'm reading my great grandmother's memoir, The Devil Wore an Orchid. Okay. She married my great grandfather and got a divorce because he was dramatic. He was dramatic. He did the most. He got himself thrown into jail. He got into fights. He would steal crap. He would just scheme and get into it. Okay. So my great grandmother couldn't take it anymore. And she was left high and dry, particularly in those times where a woman could expect to, in a marriage, have the guy just be the sole provider. She did that. She turned over that trust, and my great grandfather was just not about it. So when he was in jail for the umpteenth time, she was alone and wasn't sure what she was going to do, and she was very talented. She would make things here and there and like try to sell it, but like she wasn't sure what she was going to do. So before she found Christianity, which is what she held up later in the last part of her life as like the way for her, she was still kind of open to other things, open-minded spiritually to other things. So she found like a tarot card reader, like kind of like a palmist, like, things were kind of interesting when new spiritual practices would hit, the market and everything. There was a lot of curiosity around that. And so she was guided towards using a Ouija board to kind of just guide her and ask for help. And she went out. Okay, she had friends, and she would go out at night and try to meet someone who could maybe pull her out of this. And then she had a friend who owned a bar, right? And the friend was like, "Hey, there is an eligible bachelor who's been eyeing you all night. And if you got with him, you would be in really good hands." She was like, "No, I can't. I don't want to do it just for money. Like I also kind of have to be attracted to him. And like, I don't really know him." And she was a little freaked out. But he was like, no. Give him a shot. Give him a shot. Give him a shot. I'm co-signing this guy. And she was like, still not sure, still not moved. The guy was so persistent that entire evening. He'd reach out to her, try to buy her a drink, try to talk to her. Then as she was leaving, he went out, followed her, and got her to agree to go on a date the next day. So they did. And she realized, wow, I mean, God, this guy, I mean, he was a multi-millionaire back then. Incredible. So after a lot of wearing down, and a lot of reconsideration, she decided, you know what? I'm going to go for it. I'm going to give this guy a chance. Okay. He was so happy. She was really excited. She was like, okay, I'm letting love in. I'm letting love in again because my original husband left me high and dry. He's out in jail somewhere and he keeps on going back to jail. Let me find the right one. Let me give this guy a chance. They make plans to get married in Las Vegas. This is all taking place in California because we have deep roots in California, both sides of my family. He was like, hey, we can get a quick wedding up and running at a nice place in Las Vegas. I can get us a private jet. We can zip over there. And then we can fly to Asia to have our honeymoon. But I got a lot of business to also do in Asia. So please just understand, I got to kind of split our time. He's a multimillionaire. He's splitting his time. And she was like, you know what? That's fine, honey. Do what you got to do. He was like, please be ready. I'm gonna have a car to pick you up tomorrow at 2 p.m. from your house. Please be ready. She was like, okay, no problem. I'll be ready. I know you're serious. We're gonna get this going. I'm so excited. Okay, so they don't stay over. It was like old school days, right? So they're sleeping separately. So she's like so excited. She's getting ready for this trip. She's packing up. She's very meticulous and detail oriented. And then one of her exes shows up. Now, he lived in the same apartment building as her, and he just kind of had a hunch. This is a different guy. He was always friends with my great grandmother, and he was nice. And they even like dated a little bit. But they could never, she loved him too, but she couldn't ever commit to him like he wanted her to because he was a drunk. So he was just like always busting out the alcohol at times that would make it so that at a certain point in the day, their communication would shut down and it was no longer pleasurable for her to like hang out with him. So she was like, I can't build a relationship off that. So he can be my friend, he can come over and we can hang out, but we can never be serious. So as she's getting ready to go fly off and get married, she's packing her bags. He comes knocking on the door. She was like, hey, I'm glad you're here. You can hang out with me, but I just want to let you know this kind of on again, off again thing can't happen anymore. I'll always love you. You can always be my friend, but I'm going to go get married for real. And he was like, wow. He was like, okay, I really am happy for you. That's great. That's great. I'm super happy for you. Hey, let's hang out, kind of like just have a last hangout while you're getting ready to go get married tomorrow. I'll chill here on your couch. We'll watch some TV. Like, I'll just hang out. So they do that. And then he spends the night on the couch. She sleeps in her room. They wake up, they make coffee. And, you know, she's preparing in the morning. Now, she's watching the clock. Tick tock all day, anxious, knowing that her life's about to change in a 180-degree direction, going from dirt poor to massively rich when the clock strikes 2. Tick tock. She's waiting for this taxi or whatever private driver to come swoop her up. Now it's 2. The friend says, hey, I just want to wait with you. I want to see you off. This is a big deal. I care about you. I want to see you off once the driver comes. Let me hang out with you until then. Clock strikes 2, no car. Okay, it's kind of weird. That's all right. Maybe there's some traffic. Clock strikes 2:30, no car, no communications. Now it's at 3. Now it's 3:30. She's kind of freaking out. She's assuming now that something bad happened, right? So she goes to her records. You know, there was no email, there was no digital trail, but she wrote everything down. So she looks up the hotel where they're supposed to stay at for the night in Las Vegas. She calls them up and just says, hey, what's the deal with the reservation under, you know, and insert rich guy's name? They told her that he checked in at 10:30 a.m. that morning. He's there and she's not. And the wave of disappointment that took my great grandma out, the wave of depression, the wave of betrayal. She was beside herself. I'm so glad that she had her friend there with him, as emotionally kind of on again, off again as he was. He was there. He was always doing the best he could. And he never mistreated her like that. So she had her friend, but she's crying and she's devastated. And it took her forever to be turned around about giving this guy a chance. He wore her down until he realized, and this is my take, okay, this is my editorializing. Oh God, how do you say that word? Editorializing. I think he liked the chase, and then once he realized, oh man, she's for real, she's committed. I snagged another one. Boop, on to the next because he could. Someone with that kind of stature and privilege and resource, he doesn't have to keep his word to nobody. Right? He is the word in his mind, in his world. He is the word. So, okay, I don't know what I'm doing with my chair, sorry. Okay, so that's where we're at. Now, I know I brought up Christianity at the top. It's important because even though we're not there in the story yet, right now she's in the depths of her despair. Recap, her initial husband left her high and dry, didn't know how to make a living without scamming, was in jail a lot. Now, let me just say a side note because it sounds like I'm judging my great-grandpa a lot for being poor. I'm not judging him for being poor. I just happen to know that there might have been some more scandalous stuff that he's done in his life that I don't think is going to be covered in this book, to be honest with you. So I already have some stank on his name in my head and my heart. I will always appreciate him for being an ancestor of mine, a predecessor of mine. However, ancestor. But I'm grateful for what he did to get me here now, right? But he also did some crazy shit that I don't think I'm going to talk about here. So if you sense that I have a little bit of bite when we're talking about him, I'm not mad at him for being poor and getting caught and getting thrown in jail for trying to make money for the family. Tale as old as time. So many people do that. I'm not mad at him for that. Okay? Just to be clear. Okay. So now my grandma is desperate and looking to a Ouija board, asking for answers. So back then, the solution was still framed as, how can I get a husband? How can I get a man? Right? So that's some of the verbiage that we're working with here. And the Ouija board said, hey, that rich guy that just dusted you off and left and ditched you high and dry, he's actually your true love. That's what the Ouija board was swearing up and down. So that is where we left off, okay? In fact, let me just reread the last kind of paragraph from the last time we took up. But that's where we're at. Thank you so much for listening. It's a compelling story. And I definitely would love to know what you all think. Okay. Now it seemed the angry storm outside was lashing out in these last days of February, as though it had been displeased with all that it had observed. Chilled and trembling, Orchid, that's her given name to herself. Her self name was Orchid. Orchid raised the thermostat and covered herself with a lap robe. Resuming her questions on the Ouija board, she asked, hey, but when will Ted Baker come back? Ted Baker was the rich guy. When will Ted Baker come back? Moving with more speed now, it spelled out March 23rd. You mean next month? Excitement began to stir within her. After it shot up to yes. Okay, so the Ouija board said yes. It swiftly started to spell out go to Kent. Go to Kent. It repeated, baffled. She hesitated. When she asked why, again it repeated, go to Kent. Go to Kent. She became somewhat annoyed. She had known that he was in no condition to be dealt with or bothered with, but a strong feeling of foreboding crept over her, and she found herself rising and going over to his studio apartment. Kent was her alcoholic best friend who shared the building. When he didn't answer her knock, she slowly turned the knob. It was unlocked, and in an instant, she was engulfed in a whirl of gray, thick smoke. The gust of wind that entered with her instantly ignited certain spots of the blanket on his bed. Choking and coughing, she gasped out, Kent! Kent! Where are you? Kent! Oh my God, did he kill himself? Kent! Kent! Groping in the dark, she finally found him. Then she ran into the kitchen and filled a pot of water, ran back to throw it over him. And she heard his grunt and his cough as she frantically pulled and tugged at him. Help, help! She was struggling to yell. But the smoke was choking her. So she was glad the following day when Kent moved in with a friend in another part of town. She knew that it was too dangerous for him to live alone. She was in no physical or emotional condition to watch him destroy himself and try to help him. She knew that she would miss him, but she was not able to carry the burden. Bye, Peanut, he said lovingly. I'll see ya. She held back the tears and closed the door. She was now left completely alone, but she had found something to occupy her evening hours, which were her loneliest. Trying to blot out her past, she still persevered her search for some hope of happiness. She was beginning to believe and accept that everything that the Ouija board was telling her. Each day with the board became a new adventure. Promises of love, marriage, riches, happiness, they all fascinated her. She never tired of it. Inside of a week, she was so convinced that she was gaining a new lease on life. She found it difficult to contain her renewed enthusiasm for living. It was then that she decided to invite a group of her girlfriends over. She had always loved entertaining and had gained a reputation for unusual parties. She was also admired for her graciousness and charm. It wasn't surprising to her friends that she brought out something different for the entertainment. This time it was the Ouija board. Everyone seemed to know or have heard of such a thing. It was a game that there was a lot of joking around about it out in the streets. Orchid did not participate in the playing, but she passed it around for the girls to try. While she was serving coffee and cake amidst the chatter and the laughter, she heard the voices of a friend, May, who was playing the board, asking, Who are you? May had been familiar with Ouija boards and had on occasion played with them. I'm going to grab my glasses as we're all at the edge of our seat here, and I'm going to catch up with. Oh, I love it. Okay. I'm just catching up. I'm just catching up. I love it. Oh, Wilbur, the noise is a lot. Yeah. Y'all are the best. Yes. Thank you, Wilbur. Okay, Sherry. Good. I'm glad you're into it. I'm glad you're into it. And I'm just glad that we're together. Okay, so I'll continue on. Okay. So the friend May asked the board, "Hey, who are you?" Dazed and in a stupor, Kent stood up, coughed, and uttered some incoherent words. She hurriedly guided him out of the door. She managed somehow to wake another neighbor who called the fire department. Wait. Whoa, wait. What? Sorry. Okay, page 20, page 21. Oh, I gotcha. Okay, who are you? Sorry. And then here's May. So it astonished Orchid when the board spelled out Thelma. Okay, so my grandma's friend May asked the Ouija board, "Who are you?" And the Ouija board said Thelma. That was May's recently departed sister-in-law. Oh my God. It then continued on with expressions that were solely Thelma's. This puzzled Orchid, as the thought had not occurred to her that the messages were actually coming from persons, like people, that it was someone and not just an unknown strange power of the board itself. She remembered hearing from somewhere, perhaps in movies and books, that in a spiritualist seance, the spirits of the dead could come back and communicate with those on Earth. After the girls left, she hurriedly tidied up the room and got into her pajamas and robe, then nestled into a comfortable chair with the board on her lap, and she anxiously, with new interest, asked, "Who are you?" The board swiftly spelled out, "Can't you guess?" Okay, I'm sorry. If a board asks me, "Can't you guess?" I'm like, "Bro, you're playing with me. Quit playing with me. I got to stop playing this board. I'm scared." Right? Okay, so the board spelled out, "Can't you guess?" "Dear God," she whispered. "Who could it be?" A strong impression told her it was a man. "Are you my father?" she asked almost fearfully. Suddenly, it began to spell out, "Sit ye doon, sit ye doon." Okay, literally spelled out sit, the word sit, and then Y-E, yeah, and then D-O-O-N. "Mr. Paris! Mr. Paris!" she cried. "Oh dear, it's Mr. Paris. A dearly beloved friend from the distant past, a little Scotsman." Ah, hence the accent. A little Scotsman with an adorable Scottish accent. How could she ever forget? It had been about 25 years since she had seen or heard from him. Orchid was overcome with mixed emotions and was both joyful and sorrowful. She was flooded with memories of that sad episode of her life. She put her head down, and hot tears ran down her cheeks onto the board. Thought Throughout the years, it had faded into a dim, unreal thing. But Mr. Perry, sorry, I said Paris, but Perry was real and he had existed, and she had lived that terrible, heartbreaking experience. A story until then no one but Bob had known. And I believe Bob in the story is my grandpa, who in this point in time of the story is in jail. So no one else knew this but her ex-husband. It was her scar to hide forever. Her shivers turned to trembles as her memory drifted back through the years to Canada. She saw herself with 3 young children, one of them a small baby, the others hardly more than that. Their father had just been sentenced to a 3-year term in a Canadian prison. That's Grandpa. Embezzlement, they had called it, to unburden her um, own to unburden her own mother and family, whom she had been living with, who could barely support her own household. She had written to Bob's folks in the hopes that they would be kind enough to accept her for a while. Bob's mother had recently divorced his father and was struggling on her own. She was not anxious. She did condescend when Orchid explained that the welfare department said that it was up to the Canadian government to assist her. The California welfare had refused her aid as Bob was in Canadian custody. She pawned her jewelry off, her wedding ring, and made that long, tedious trip with her children, her youngest, an 8-month-old baby. But her heart was lighter now, knowing that she would be near Bob. She knew that day she arrived, this too was going to be a hardship. Times were bad in Canada. It was already sending troops to Europe for World War II. Bob's mother and sister, Jenny, were living in a 3-room apartment. They were both deeply involved with their own lives and problems. She was aware that having 3 children and living with relatives created many problems. But they made their displeasures known immediately. With Orchid's sensitive nature, her heart ached constantly. But for the sake of her baby, she kept an outward, cheerful disposition. Now she hated being a burden to them or anyone. But she applied for assistance from the Canadian government and she was refused flatly, telling her that she had to be a Canadian citizen in order to receive aid. She continued to pursue all possible avenues, but to no avail. This is brutal. Legal matters were always so baffling to Orchid. It was beyond her capacity to fully understand. She needed help desperately now. She was always afraid of Bob's father. Okay. So, my great grandpa's dad was quite possibly a butthead because she's afraid of him. It was well known how cold and often cruel he could be. There it is, folks. There it is. Cold and cruel father figure, and also no real financial resources. Mix that up, and you got generational trauma. Here it is, folks. Okay, I never heard about his father. This makes so much sense, especially now. He was embittered over his marital split. When her mother-in-law demanded that she go to him, she went extremely reluctantly and fearfully. He shouted obscenities to her. Ugh, rude. He had been thoroughly against her coming to Canada. He would have nothing to do with her and the children, not even with Bob, his own son. There it is. Later, she was to learn that it was his strong influence that caused the rejection for aid from the officials. Wait, so this dude had influence? Okay, so just the mom was poor when they divorced. This is freaking wild. Orchid had earlier refused to be a witness for him against Bob's mother for a divorce suit. How dare you try to make me pick sides, sir, when I am your daughter-in-law? But I am not only your daughter-in-law to you, I am your daughter-in-law also to your ex-wife. So do not make me pick sides. That is insane. I have 3 baby children. Like, what? It was a sordid and ugly And in no way would she have done that to Bob's mother, no matter what the feelings were between her and her mother-in-law. Good job, Grandma, standing 10 tones down for the ladies. There was never enough food for the children, and Orchid's heart broke as they cried from hunger. Oh my God, I didn't realize this level of desperation was in the DNA so close. I'm just having a moment, y'all. I mean, even when hunger happens once, like one day, for one day in a developmental, like child's day in their life, one day of being hunger and food insecure is traumatizing. Imagine that being a period of life. I've had 2 days in my life where it wasn't like, hey, I don't know where food's coming for the whole day, but it was like, hey, I don't know if we're going to get a meal, like one of the 3 meals. So I remember in childhood, me and my brother, there were 2 different days spread out by a few years, 2 different days where there was a meal where we might not have gotten. And that stands out to me because of what the implications were with that. So I'm just imagining how kids are feeling in Gaza right now. And I'm imagining how my grandma, who was my great grandmother's daughter, who I was very close to, like a little baby version of her feeling desperate. And I'm letting myself feel the pain of that because I trust my pain. I'm just taking a deep breath and feeling for people that go without every day. This is what I do now, y'all. I don't gloss over anything anymore. When it hits, I let it hit to the best of my ability. I don't gloss over anything anymore. Okay. I'll continue. There was never enough food. The children cried from hunger. Once her little boy, Bobby Jr., came home and said, "Look, Mom, I got a dime. That nice man downstairs gave it to me." She had heard that he was instrumental, a kindly, good man. She hugged and kissed her son tenderly. As she held the dime in her hand, she tried to decide what to do with it. Besides food, she needed soap for their laundry and stamps to mail letters to Bob. She bought 3 carrots and 3 potatoes. She never wrote to her family about her incredible hardships. Times were hard enough for them too. Sherry, I am so grateful for you appreciating it and listening it and listening to it and receiving the story. Thank you for being with me in this. This is very sweet. I really appreciate it. Orchid stayed home with the children every day and night, and she wrote to Bob as often as she could get to a 3-cent stamp. Oh, as often as she could get a 3-cent stamp. I see. And she looked forward to her only outing once a month to visit Bob. It tore at her heart that they could not touch each other. There were layers of screens between them, but they were oblivious to everyone around them, and they would laugh and cry. And that half hour went painfully fast. On an evening, Marion, the wife of Bob's brother, came to visit her, and it was the first and only visit that she had from her. Seeing her loneliness and dejection, she said, "Come on, Orchid, it's your birthday. Get dressed, and I'll take you out for the evening." But Marion, What about the children? She asked. She couldn't remember the last time that she had been dressed up and gone anywhere. We'll ask Miss O'Neill upstairs and I'll pay her, Marion insisted. Canada had mostly beer parlors then, and Canadians were famous for their enormous consumption. They sat with some of Marion's friends. The beers came and kept coming. She would take a few sips from each glass and sit there astonished at their gross indulgence. She was missing Bob now, and her heart ached, but she only displayed a gay and witty Orchid for the people around the table. They were amused at her spontaneous quips. The night blurred. She didn't remember how she got home. Weeks later, she began to have strange yet familiar symptoms. She asked herself, hey, what's wrong with me? Why do I feel this way? More weeks passed. I don't understand this. It's incredible. What's happening to me? In time, she was to realize the horror, the awful, frightening, and bitter truth. She was pregnant. Not someone getting her pregnant when she's barely tipsy for her birthday. What? With extreme effort, she tried to recall the night of her birthday. Marion, who had an endless capacity for alcohol, invited the group of her friends to continue the party in her hotel apartment, and it seemed to be customary. Then it was all too hazy. Orchid, still struggling to remember, wasn't sure if she had dreamt it or not, but there seemed to be someone who was very attentive. Who was dark and shadowy, no face, just a form. That's all, nothing more. Oh Lord, she sobbed. How could this happen to me? Okay, so I don't know if my grandma's gonna call it this, but this was not consensual. This was not consensual. I know my grandma, she was not trying to get into no shenanigans like that. So someone took advantage. I'm just saying that right now. She didn't even want to go out that night. And it was never, that story of this kind of essay event has not trickled down. So I'm very grateful to know that, even though it's painful, to know that this is something that happened, because it's important. It's important to know the impacts of, like, I think the women part in particular of our lives, what they went through for us to be anywhere near where we are now. Right? I'm sorry, I didn't realize how many difficult things were in this story. Y'all are just reading it for the first time with me. You're hearing it for the first time as I'm reading it. I didn't, I just knew about the Ouija boards. That's literally all I knew. Okay. This is wild. But, women back then, I know we have our challenges now. We definitely do. And just back then, freaking wild. Okay. Oh my gosh, y'all, this is so... Okay. So the agony she felt during the following days could never be told. It was a nightmare. She had such high moral standards, and she loved Bob so much. 3 more months of mental and physical torture, unsuccessfully trying some old wives' methods of aborting. And she lived with this horrible, shameful secret. Who could she turn to? She was suffering, excruciating toothaches on top of that. And this seemed to come with pregnancies for her. Crushed and dejected, she overheard the plans of both her mother and sister-in-law to send her away, quote unquote. Let Dad take care of her, they said. She was positive that they hadn't known of her condition, but she realized what was inevitable. This had to be. She quietly started to pack, and there was little said after they approached her. Now, out into the street with her hungry babies. wheeling an old canvas baby buggy on an overpacked bag. Or with an overpacked bag, without a single penny and desperately holding back the tears, she cried, "Oh Lord, find us a home." And at that moment, she turned and saw this nice man her children were always speaking about, who would give them candy, standing out on the walkway. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Germain," tipping his hat. "Are you leaving us?" "Oh, yes, yes," with a pretense of assurances. "Oh, so sorry to hear that. I've enjoyed your little ones." "Yes, yes, I know. They've told me," trying to recall the names that she had heard. "Will you be coming back?" "Uh, no, no, I don't think so, Mr." And she wondered what his name was. Oh, here we go. Mr. Perry, he answered as he puffed on a small pipe. Her mind was whirling now. Perhaps the Salvation Army, she thought. And where might you be going? He inquired politely. At that moment, those kind words seemed to have unlocked the avalanche of heartbreak that she was suppressing. She gave him an agonizing look, and for one quick moment she could not utter a sound. Then I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. She burst into a flood of tears and tried desperately to compose herself. "Salvation Army, where is it?" Still fighting for composure. "Do you know where?" "Here, here. Now calm down. Calm down." He was reliving. Sorry, re, rel he was relieving her. He was relieving her now of the heavy bag and guiding her and the children towards his apartment. "Now come in, and tell me about it. Tell me what's going on." The bewildered children followed silently. "Sit you down, sit you down." Oh, yeah, because he's Scottish. And those memorable words remained precious to her forever. After giving them all a bowl of soup and crackers, he waited for Orchid to tell a portion of her problems. She withheld the worst part. She just couldn't tell him. Then he handed her a small sum of money and said, "Hey, you run along now and look for an apartment to rent. Now I will stay with the youngsters." Now she tried to speak and he stopped her and led her to the door. "Hurry now. It'll get late. That will be enough that should be enough to hold it, and I'll give you the rest when you return. Now hurry now." Her head was spinning and she breathlessly ran up and down the hilly city and streets, trying to find shelter in her little brood. "Sorry, no kids," was the theme. Imagine telling a single woman, "Sorry, no kids allowed in this apartment." No freaking way. I didn't know that was allowed ever. Um, During that time and in that city, people looked with disdain at anyone who had children. It would have been easier if one had animals instead. Okay, that is crazy to me. It was raining now. Weary and extremely tired, she continued block after block. Okay, now I am thinking she should have been like, "Hey, can I stay in your apartment? And you go run around these streets being the man that you are and get an apartment. And I'm going to stay with my kids." Oh my God, y'all. This is crazy. Okay, so it's raining. She was extremely tired. She continued on block after block. "Oh God, please, please help me find a home," she cried with tears blinding her. She courageously trudged along. Y'all, when I tell you my great grandma was always dressed to the nines in the finest robes and cute little shoes, I could never imagine her enduring this. I had no idea. I knew they were poor. I didn't know what quote unquote poor meant. This is what that looks like. Like, wow. Um, yeah, courageously trudged along, no doubt. At long last, in an old Victorian house, she resembled that of a Hitchcock setting. A kindly old lady agreed to rent her an attic room that had an impoverished kitchen. It was up 3 flights of dark, narrow stairs, but Orchid was thrilled and she ran back, both laughing and crying in the pouring rain. Thank you, Lord, she cried. She was drenched when she returned, but felt a linger and happier than she had for a long, long time. Oh, dear Mr. Perry, gray haired, gentle, slight in body, became a giant to Orchid, and he had given her the balance of the rent, which was very little more than enough for food for a week. Yeah, seriously, Sherry, I know. He answered before she asked any questions in her mind. She hurried her babies along with those long blocks to their new home. Seventh Heaven, she had called it. That night, she cooked the best meal that they had had in many months. Okay, now the print is very tricky here. I'm going to do my best. Okay, there were broken walls and cement showing through. Um, and they lived there for many months. Cracked, broken walls with cement. I see. Okay. But it worked for Orchid. It was also her daughter Juliet's 5th birthday. That is my grandma. That is my grandma. My little 5-year-old grandma who I was very close to. So she bought a 25-cent cake, and her heart was overcome with extreme gratitude as she watched her child blow out the candles. She held her and then sang a song of love to her babies. That night, as children all lay asleep beside her in the old iron bed, she said a prayer of thanks and then cried softly and sobbed into her pillow. Bob, oh Bob, come home. We need you so. Mr. Perry kept his promise to help her for as long as she needed. And he was not a wealthy man. He'd been a certified public accountant for most of his life, and he was a bachelor and often had done good deeds, such as giving scholarships to many. So she learned. Weeks were turning into months, and each day was a battle to face the sickening truth. She soon was evicted again because the old house was sold to new owners. And once again, God was with her, and she found another kind lady, Mrs. Brown, who accepted her and the children. The house was not too different from the other, but her room was on the first floor this time, with only a panel partition between her and Mr. and Mrs. Brown and their 2 children. So it was a constant, desperate effort to keep her children quiet. Oh man, here we are. The era of children be quiet and don't be children. Oh, that's rough. Her nerves were shattered, and now she was crying constantly. What am I going to do? I just can't, I can't have this other child. Oh, yeah, because meanwhile, she's still pregnant from that night out on the town that she has no idea who that was. Oh my God, you guys. What the? I don't even know who the father is. My God, I don't want it. Help me, somebody help me. She would cry in desperation. Her hopes for any future happiness were gone. She could take anything but this. Why? She would bury her head in the pillow so no one could hear her sobs. I guarantee you those people heard her sobs. I guarantee you. Her kids heard her sobs. It was all so horrifying. There was no sleep now, no rest, no peace of mind. Who could she turn to? Dear Mr. Perry, he was her only friend. But what could he do? Why put another burden on him? every other week she walked that long trek with her children to receive Mr. Perry's modest offerings. His conception of what it took to feed a family of 4 did not meet her needs. It was incredible effort, but she never let him know. She was so very grateful and so very humble. Each time she felt more and more humiliated. Soon, she would be entering the 7th month of her pregnancy, and she feared that the landlady was suspecting and that she would be evicted again. Finally, late one evening, after the children were all asleep, she asked the landlady if she would mind looking in on them while she was gone. She knew that Mr. Perry was her only hope, and how painful for her to have to reveal this sordid thing. It was so like him to accept her story without condemnation and with all the tender compassion a soul could give another. He was a father now, a father Orchid always needed and missed so much. He more than comforted her when she sobbed out um, her heart-aching story. He was a man of high moral standards and principles, but he wanted to do for Orchid what she felt was best to do. Boom, an abortion. There was no other solution for her. She felt it unfair to the child, to her children, to Bob, and to herself. Mr. Perry understood. He comforted her and sent her home with the assurance that he would try to do everything in his power to help. She despised having to burden him with such a gigantic load. Words of gratitude were so pitiably feeble. He never mentioned religion, but she was certain of his high standards. The thought of how much this was asking of him pained her. Pained her. How could she ever repay him? Money would never be enough. Mr. Perry kept his promise. Somehow he found a doctor that would perform the abortion. And due to the advanced stage, it was far costlier than expected. From then on, it was a series of nightmares. See, and look at where we are in our world right now. There are people still going through this. Our societies haven't cracked this code, even though we know it's right. Right? People should have access to all the healthcare services that they need at any point in time, point blank period. This is wild. So whenever I have like a deep-seated, principled, like very feministy sort of rage to like my words, my stances, my songs, my lyrics, this story is in my DNA. The ripple effects of this story is in my DNA, and I am appreciating that. I'm embracing it, and I'm just in real time appreciating more and more why I came out of the womb the way I did. It's partly because of my great grandma, partly because of Orchid. Okay, but anyway, I'll return to the text here. Mr. Perry kept his promise. Found a doctor that would do it. It was advanced stage, so there were nightmares ahead. She had never truly known God, nor was she knowing him now, but she knew it was God that pulled her through that time. She had to travel by train 80 miles. The doctor was incompetent, not incompetent. Who was it? RFK? Is that who the doctor was? Doctor was incompetent. After the surgery, he sent her home, telling her that she would be relieved of the fetus within a few days. Oh my God. Pain, fever, pain, more fever, weakness, children hungry, fainting, alone, pain, baby crying, fever, children's needs, fever, more pain, alone, bathroom, other side of Miss Brown's kitchen, bathroom, occupied, children late for school, bathroom. Occupied, dreadful pain, dizziness, baby crying, "Help me! Oh God, please help me." But at no time did she call for people to help, not even Mr. Perry. No one knew but God. So she was quietly, inwardly suffering. Internalizing this, felt too vulnerable to express her new set of challenges. It did not end after the first agonizing release. There was more. The placenta stayed within her for days. Her temperature soared. Orchid did not arise from her bed, and when she. Okay, hold on. This is a weird edit here that made it very hard. She became dizzy. She had hungry children, a crying, wet baby. She gave instructions faintly to her darling boy, only 6 years old, that he was taking over like a man. Cold chills now and trembling, children all asleep. She prayed, God, don't let me die, please. What will happen to my babies? I must fulfill my dream. Give them a chance, dear God, please. Then a whirling wheel around and around, fading to a speck and growing to mammoth size over and over. Then far away she heard, Orchid, Orchid, can you hear me? Orchid. She saw a figure, just a shadow. In a faint whisper, she called, Mr. Perry. Dear blessed Mr. Perry, she whispered. The children had left. The door was unlocked, and he was able to walk in. She had not heard his knock. She hadn't heard from her. No, he hadn't heard from her, and he became concerned. She knew it was God. She was unable to speak now. The rest became hazy. Mr. Perry, the doctor, a nurse, talking babies, pills, pills, nurses. Bob, Bob, where are you? It took her a long time to recuperate. And then she wrote a letter home. Mr. Perry, that dear man, continued his benevolence until the very hour at the train depot when she had to say goodbye to him. Her sister, who had come to escort her home, never knew the truth. Wow. She dreaded this hour. Her heart was overflowing with deep gratitude and love. There were no words in all this world that could express what she felt. He was given all, wanting nothing in return. Mr. Perry, someday I'll pay you back. No, 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 little girl, he interrupted. The only way you pay me back is when you can do a kind deed for someone else. He smiled at her, and with his twinkling eyes, she kissed him so tenderly. Somehow, Orchid knew as the train pulled away that she would never see him again. Puffin, she would never again see him. The memory of this beloved little gray-haired man with a handsome face, puffing on his pipe, was to remain in her most priceless possession in her memory. But like many precious possessions, she put it away in a secret drawer, seldom opened now after the many years, and too often forgotten. Now he was here with her. She wanted to pick up the board and kiss it. Okay, so we just got that whole story. Now we're back, right? She just had a girls' night at her apartment now. Her kids are grown up now. They're adults. My grandma is a young adult at this point. And she's at the Ouija board, and Mr. Perry is saying, hey, it's me. So it's been a long time. He passed away. Now he is with her. And she wanted to pick up the board and kiss it. There was so much that she wanted to tell him, but without her asking any of the questions that were flooding her mind, it was spelling out all the answers in the exact manner that she was asking in her mind. Mr. Perry would say, "Little girl, after I died, God appointed me to be your guardian angel." Guardian angel, she thought, and she remembered the nuns saying only children got guardian angels. And she was ashamed of how little she knew. Then it continued, "There is a very, very special reason why God did this for you." "Why, Mr. Perry? Why?" She's asking the board. "We'll explain later. Trust me." How would you feel if you had a Ouija board telling you all this? This is this is incredible. "I will always trust you, Mr. Perry. You know that." Completely captivated and enthralled, she could not break away from this Ouija board. When it spelled out rest, she was amused and she complied. Wow, this is a riveting story. Later that night, before Orchid fell asleep, she recalled an incident that had happened to her many years before. It was after that first divorcing Bob. I know, shocked and scared. This is why my mom raised me and my brother to never mess around with Ouija boards at sleepovers. And we were of the generation where, like, they were kind of popularized, like 90s kids, right? A lot of people had them, but my mom drilled it because of this story. She heard it as a kid growing up. She was like, yo, no Ouija boards for y'all. And so I haven't touched one. We're going to hear more about this. So before she fell asleep that night, she was having a flashback. It was after first divorcing Bob. Unable to cope with the realization of the marital dissolvement, she left for a few days to Lake Tahoe. She had never before been there and thought the trip would help her gather her bearings. Exhausted from the emotional stress, she could not leave her motel room for 3 days and nights. She was consumed with loneliness and dependency and cried endless tears. She remembered opening a Bible there and finding a significant passage. She could not recall what it was, but it had comforted her. After a while, she knew it was best to get out. And so she decided to go to the casinos, which she had not yet seen personally. And it took the greatest effort to dress up and leave the room. The glittering sights, the noises of the slot machines, roulette wheels, disco tables, and blasting sound of the band was nerve-shattering. She wanted to turn back and run, but to what, she thought. This was a little too harsh for Orchid under any other circumstances. Her tastes were far more subdued. She loved good music and appreciated talented entertainment, but she could not enjoy it alone. After sipping a mild drink, she sauntered over to the ladies' lounge, exquisitely decorated in red velvet and antique gold with beautiful framed mirrors everywhere. And it was sectioned away from the main lobby, and it was very quiet and peaceful. Yeah, Grandma, I feel like I would have found a vibe like that too. I would have done a similar thing. She sighed deeply as she reclined into a soft, cushioned armchair, and she leaned back, relaxed, and closed her eyes. What now? She wondered. What am I doing here? Soon she felt the presence of someone close by, and as she opened her eyes, she saw a strange, dark-haired woman with dark, piercing eyes staring right at her. Okay, I'm just relieved it's a woman and not some dude. Let's see what happens here. Disturbed, Orchid turned away. There seemed to be something ominous about the way that this woman moved, and she wanted to avoid this encounter. But the stranger deliberately sat next to her, and her eyes penetrated Orchid's. The woman spoke and said, "Who's Mr. Perry?" Oh, imagine someone just knows Mr. Perry out of nowhere. The woman said, "Who's Mr. Perry?" Orchid, taken aback and astonished, could not speak for a few seconds. Then, stammering, she politely answered, well, I used to know someone by that name. Why, how do you know him?" she asked, deeply curious. "No, I don't know him," the woman answered, "but he's given me a message for you." Oh, where is he? Her heart was pounding now. "He's in the other world. He departed quite a few years ago." Orchid's heart sank, and she revealed her sorrow. "Oh, don't be sad, dear. He's happy," the woman assured her. "But you said he had a message. What do you mean?" Orchid asked, still puzzled. "Yes, he told me to tell you not to cry anymore, that he's watching over you." "But how? How do you? Oh my gosh, are you a fortune teller?" Orchid was baffled. She said that she had then already had her first meeting with Madame Zorina. Okay, so this was her first meeting with Madame Zorina. "No, but sometimes I get messages from the spirits," she explained. "Spirits?" Orchid eyes widened with fearful inquisition. The woman then proceeded to explain, and Orchid pretended to understand, even though she didn't. And in a short while, she dismissed this incident from her mind. It was too much for my grandma, man. She couldn't take it. She's like, "Nope, I'm dropping that one right outside of the memory banks." Now, many years later, Mr. Perry comes back on a Ouija board. Could it be true? Is he really watching over me? But, like, what exactly does that mean? She knew very little, and she knew little more than she did then. In spite of all the trips to the palmista and the palmistas and the mediums that she made since, and the only thing she learned in the horoscope books was a character analysis and daily predictions. But when she read about her sign, a Gemini, it often seemed to fit her. "You long for love and you don't always find it." It always seemed to say something like that. How true, she thought. Oh, she had known love, mostly unrequited. Perhaps she expected too much from it. She could never believe in, or I'm sorry, sometimes she could never believe in, or could she accept anyone. Oh, nor could she accept anyone else sharing her love in this world. She drifted back in memory to the days when she felt that life began for her. The day that Bob returned after having displayed insurmountable fortitude during these 3 dreadful years. Orchid worked after she came home from Canada and was able to save up enough money to make a comfortable start for them. And she was eager now for a fresh beginning and was determined not to ever look back. All had been forgiven between them, and for the first time in their 10 years of marriage, she felt truly loved. She knew God had been kind, and it seemed that her prayers were answered all at once. It was at the very peak of the war now. But for Orchid and Bob, the advantages were abundant, and life had never been easier or happier. Bob was now directing his capabilities toward conventional ways of life. And at long last, Orchid was given the opportunity to burst forth the flower that had been struggling to bloom within her. And when it did, the sunshine greeted and glorified her. She was radiantly alive now, and her world became the shining star that she had wanted to touch as a little child. She had been a singing performer before. Ah, runs in the family. She had been a singing performer before her marriage and danced with the grace of a fawn. But now it seemed the whole world applauded at just her entrances into the social world. Though she personified an elegant, sophisticated lady, Bob adored and encouraged her charming, childlike, and often naive ways. They entertained frequently, and Bob burst with pride at the exquisite setting of her tables, fine china, and delicate orchid colored crystal, beautiful arrangements of fresh flowers and candlelight. This trend lives on from her daughter, my grandma, and her daughter, my mom. And I got swag with interior stuff. That tradition lives on. She took a lot of pride in how things looked and how they were organized. Beautiful arrangements of fresh flowers, candlelight, and it all came natural to her. She handled all. Sorry, y'all. Some of the way this printed out is a little tricky. She handled the domestic responsibilities, and her versatile talents included the culinary arts. Yes, I can attest. I've had her Italian food. I miss it. I love it. I can still taste it. That's how powerful these childhood memories stay seared on the taste buds. I mean, I still taste her food. Being well organized, she was well prepared to receive her guests cheerfully and graciously, and their three lovely children were bright and well mannered and loved by all. Now, how happy and thrilled she was when she was at last able to give them that beautiful home that she always wanted. She promised and told them about in her stories those earlier days. They had their own comfortable, beautifully furnished rooms and all the things that they ever needed. And Bob would beam at the showplace Orchid had created from an old rundown house that he had purchased at a low cost. And it was the talk and pride of the neighborhood. This was the dream that she had when she lay so sick in Canada, and this was the dream that made her battle for her life. Bob's success as a nightclub owner was reaching its pinnacle, but he thought he had to take advantage of what he felt were higher opportunities. Always self assured, he would plunge beyond his capacity to perform, also beyond his means, and he jeopardized their security. Oh my God. Orchid had set a standard of living now for them and feared these changes. His inconsistent nature made him gamble at many various unworthy investments without foresight, ignoring his own natural good potentials. There were other unseen culprits now, destroying her world again. Pure and undistilled love was the only nourishment that could sustain the delicata flower. But drop by drop, a dangerous and poisonous substance was easing in, Infidelity was the worst enemy. Had she truly expected too much, somehow, through the remainder of those years with Bob, she succeeded to retain their image. She would come forth and bloom. Well, I'm just making sure I'm on the right page. Yes, she would come forth and bloom periodically. But her nourishment now was, I don't know what this word is, emphatic. She survived, though she was constantly uprooted and, sorry guys, it's bad print job here. Basically, she was always hit with disasters, which I think we're gathering pretty clear, right? It's pretty obvious. Always hit with disasters. Her fears were sadly justified. She still loved Bob, and she was fast losing all trust and faith in him. Once again, she and her children were denied the security that they needed. Doesn't this just piss you off? It's pissing me off. When the inevitable time came and he stopped beyond the limits of the law, once again, she lost all hope of the life that she had planned and dreamed with him. And it was getting late. She longed to be settled. She felt that Bob's patterns of life would never change. The realization that he was not and could never be the image that she upheld for a husband and father, it tore at her heart. And she had aptly fulfilled her role as wife and mother, but she could not go beyond that, not only because of her physical limitations now, but her problems were destroying her emotionally. And she had many aspirations earlier in life, but the constant series of adversities had stifled her progress. Indeed, it was getting late, she thought, and she could not afford 3 more years for his release. So she reasoned that while she was still attractive and men were always attentive to her, that her happiness lay in another marriage. Orchid knew that she would be subjugating herself to much ridicule and criticism at this time, but to her, time was precious, and she must find the love that would establish life for her. She would pray to God for happiness in the future. But for her immediate answer, she went to the fortune tellers. She never knew that they were giving her false hope. So she undoubtedly carried on. And when Orchid met Hugh McGavin, oh, we got a new one, y'all. That's right. She's a very strong woman. She never gave up. And when I feel downtrodden about circumstances I got going on, I need to channel the persistence of this woman. Thank you for pointing that out, Sherry. So now Orchid met Hugh McGavin. Who is that? The governor of California? No, I'm just kidding. Okay. She was at her lowest ebb emotionally. Encouraged by a friend, she went with great effort to a supper club, and Hugh was sitting with a group of friends close to the entrance. And as she stood there, waiting to be escorted to her table, she captured his attention in her striking all white outfit, worn with a soft white head turban like head wrap. It was a glamorous effect with her blonde hair and blue eyes and fair skin. Their eyes met, and they were instantly captivated with each other. He was handsome and distinguished, but it was his magnetic smile and twinkling eyes that had her gaze. Always poised, she showed out an outward sign of excitement that she felt. At her table, she was unable to resist the temptation to glance at him at any opportunity. Each time she found him doing the same to her. His bold and broad smile left no doubt in her mind of the mutual fascination between them, though she did not show her feelings. Later, when she looked for him again, he was not at his table. As her eyes wandered around the room for him, she heard from behind her a masculine voice mischievously asking, "Are you looking for someone?" Startled and excited, she almost blurted out, "I found him! I found him! It's you!" At that moment, they both believed that it was love at first sight. She felt mesmerized by this handsome face and tall, magnificent physique, and was charmed by his warm, gentle manner, quick wit, and sense of humor. Ha! He was in the process of a divorce too, and they were both aware of each other's sensitive nature. Their eyes never left each other's as they talked, laughed, danced the rest of the evening. Holy matrimony. Later, she learned that he also was a serious minded, responsible man with integrity, upholding high ranking in an executive position. Well, well, well. I wonder what the hell happened to him because I never met him. Fast forward, I'll just tell you all that right now. Sorry, but I don't want to I don't want to be a spoiler, but okay. So, okay, he was a fancy dude. They felt that it was beyond mutual admiration for both of them. She could never believe that it was anything but true love and that God had sent him to her. There had been no one, uh, I'm not sure what that says. Alike, no one else when she and Bob separated. But now her world was Hugh, and he represented everything that she had always wanted in a man, and hopes that Bob could be but wasn't. At times, uh, his practical mind would reason that perhaps it was, oh, I'm sorry, her practical mind would reason that perhaps it was Hugh's imagination. Hold on. Perhaps it was Hugh's imagination that she loved. But whatever it was, she loved deeply and profoundly. Thanks, ladies, she remembered. They told me about him. And everyone told her that she should marry him. And Orchid believed and trusted, and Orchid waited. But all that ever came of this beautiful love for Orchid was memories that ached. And his last words to her, "If God wants us to be together, we'll be together someday. Goodbye, my little Orchid." They might as well have taken the oxygen out and the air out of her. Life was never the same, but with the passing of the years, she still believed that Hugh would come back one day. Now, many years later, her heart still full, but her arms empty, and the only hope for happiness was on the board. But to her, it was more than just a Ouija board. It was a dear friend. And now Mr. Perry's talking to her through it. She was spending endless hours with him, day and night. And his comforting words would replenish the fuel that she was needing for life itself. But more and more, he would tell her, hey, God has a very special and glorious plan for you. Why don't you tell me what it is, Mr. Perry? She would ask. In due time, he would answer, trust me. Soon he was beginning to make jokes. This would make her laugh as she remembered his charming sense of humor, as he fondly conversed with her children. Then, no. Hold on, what the hell does that say? Then something startled her when he said, Orchid, on the 23rd, you will see a beauty that will make us all ashamed. Am I saying that right? Then he startled her with, Orchid, on the 23rd, you will see a beauty that will make us all ashamed. If a Ouija board told me that. Wait, what do you mean, Mr. Perry? Why don't you just tell me now? On the 23rd, you will know a beauty no one on the earth has ever known. This is wild. A Ouija board is telling her this. Then he continued, soon the world will be all yours, and you will truly find your pot of gold. God has been hearing your favorite song over the rainbow, and I too have a board. Hold on, let me make sure this is right. I too have heard you. Soon, little girl, soon. And that is true. Her favorite song was Over the Rainbow. Somewhere over the rainbow. I've known that since a kid, so this is a trip to read about it like this. He said, I have something for you too. Soon, little girl, soon. Always mysterious. She couldn't understand but wanted to know more. Loving the light, classical, and sweet music, Orchid would keep her radio on almost continuously throughout the day. It was soothing to her, and she had been at her saving. She had been at her sewing. Sewing, yes, she did sew a lot. She'd been at her sewing, but often now she felt compelled to put things aside and go to Mr. Perry on the board. As he was spelling out messages to her, she became aware of her arms without control, keeping time with the music. Both amazed and amused, she asked Mr. Perry, are you keeping time with the music? Of course. I love all the music that you do, he answered. She laughed and said, Mr. Perry, you are a darling. It was the night of March 14 now. The winds were howling and pounding at the windows, and she tried to avoid thinking of her loneliness. Kent had called earlier. Okay, that's the alcoholic bestie who moved out of the building. So Kent had called earlier, but at the time, his voice, she knew it would be wiser not to invite him over. Okay, that was a clunky sentence because of how this is printed out. But basically, she could tell he was drunk and she thought, no, he can come over another time, not right now. She thought about this puzzling thing with Mr. Perry that he was telling her on the board. Perhaps he'd say more tonight. Strange promises. Still, things happen for that lady on TV, so why not for me? She thought hopefully. As she settled in her favorite corner upon her bed, with the board on her lap, the messages, without asking, were coming through. Then suddenly it spelled out, Orchid, dear, God wants to talk to you. Oh my God. The way I would be so scared. I'm like, what? God can talk to me anywhere. Like, we don't need to use this board. Oh my God. God wants to talk to you. Startled and unable to grasp his words, she asked, Wait, what? Wait, what do you mean, Mr. Perry? How could this be possible? She could not understand, nor even remotely fathom it. Then swiftly, he wrote, okay, so her hands are just relaxed on the thing, and he's just moving around. He wrote, Get on your knees. Dazed, she automatically obeyed. And in the position, Mr. Perry proceeded to repeat the strange promises of before. God has chosen you for the greatest reward of any human being, for the greatest reward any human being has ever known on earth. With her hands still on the board, she felt a powerful force beyond her. Y'all, I'm getting chills. I'm getting chills. It was beyond her control, lifting her hands up slowly off the board at the same time that the power was pulling as her neck and face were lifting towards the ceiling. Suddenly, she experienced the most beautiful, exquisite, ethereal sensation that she had ever known. And with it, she felt as though a soft veil had been placed over her head. But at that moment, a horrifying thought swept through her. I must be dying. Oh my God. No, God, not yet. I don't want to go yet. An inner powerful will kept her from yielding. She fought against it and struggled to get up. And with all her strength, she resisted this inexplicable force. Her heart racing, her head spinning, a dark curtain fell. She felt clammy and was trembling violently. My God, what's happening to me? I can't breathe. Her vision dimmed now, and it frightened her. Y'all, I don't want to, but we got to stop there. We got to stop it there. This is riveting. Sherry, are you still with me? Because this is riveting. I knew that she had drama with a Ouija board. I did not know that it almost killed her and that it asked her to see and look at the light. Right? I did not know the Ouija board asked her to see the light and that it was her decision to be like, no, whoa, we're not doing all that. We're not doing all that. That is... So it's dinner time here now. My partner has made a meal, funnily enough, pasta, which has a special place in my heart by way of this great grandma ancestor. We are going to do this again because I want to finish this book before I go under for my surgery, which is on Tuesday. I want to finish this before then. So I'll be back on. Sherry, you and I tend to be very aligned. And so my hope is that I will see you when I read again. Now, if I go live and I don't see you, I'll just play music or something. And I if you want, Sherry, I will definitely make sure. Yeah. Yeah, you're in it now, right? So we got to finish with you. Okay. There's this much left. It flies by. Thank you, Sherry, for your interest. This has been very amazing, and I'm going to keep this live up, and I'll make it public so that one could listen back to it. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. I hope everyone out there has a beautiful evening. And mucho amore to the familia. Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye now.